Ms. Casabon?
Here.
Mr. Lauren? Here. Mr. Richardson? Mr. Richard? Mr. Willie?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Fitzmaurice?
Here.
Mr. Doherty?
Here.
Mr. Drum?
I have the pleasure of being here.
Mr. Randolph?
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. This time, we would ask that you silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal any recommendation of this commission, appeals cards are to our right. If you wish to speak in front of the commission, we would ask that you fill out a speaker's card for our records. Each side will be provided 10 minutes to present their case with 5 minutes for rebuttal. And lastly, at the end of the case, if you wish to discuss it further with your colleagues, we would ask that you leave the building as if you go into the back chamber area. It does echo into this room. This time, we would ask you to stand with an invocation by Commissioner Randolph, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Dougherty.
Gracious Father, once again we come before you, thanking you for all the blessings you bestowed in our lives from times past to this point in time. Lord, you watched over, protected us, and you kept us safe from all hurt, harm, and danger. Thank you for your grace and mercy. We thank you for this commission. Thank you for the government that we serve. We thank you for the citizens that we serve and represent. Bless every decision that comes forth, and all these blessings we ask in your holy name. Amen.
And since it is February the 14th, the Commission wishes everyone a happy Valentine's Day. In our packets are the minutes from our January 10th, 2017 meeting. I'll entertain any comments or motions. Commissioner Davis.
A motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Any further comments? Please vote. Motion carries. This is a public hearing. The public is encouraged to speak on behalf or in opposition of any of the cases presented tonight. Entering parish right-of-way servitudes and easements. Entering parish right-of-way. Joyner Weiner and Bayham Roads, Ward 1, District 3. Request to enter parish right-of-way for the purpose of laying natural gas lines. The debtor, Town of Madisonville Gas Company. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable James Red Thompson. Staff?
Yes, this is a resolution granting the Town of Madisonville Gas Company permission to enter the parish right-of-way, specifically the portion of Joyner, Weimer, and Bayham Roads commencing at 1077 and extending to Wingfield subdivision for the purpose of laying 2-inch natural gas lines.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Representative of the petitioner?
This town of Mandeville, Madisonville.
No one?
Sorry.
No one
It's the town of
represents?
Madisonville. Right.
Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we close it to the public. We bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, this is part of the subdivision. They've been working on this in this area, Mr. Thompson's area. I'm going to make a motion to approve.
A second.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Willie. No further comments. Please vote. Motion carries. Entering parish right-of-way, the median at Crestwood Boulevard, Ward 3, District 2. Request to enter parish right-of-way for the purposes of constructing a turnaround. Debtor, JST Realty LLC. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Dennis Sharp. Staff?
Yes, this is a resolution granting permission to JST Realty LLC, care of David Weber, General Manager, to enter the parish right-of-way, specifically the median of Crestwood Boulevard, for the purpose of constructing a turnaround.
Thank you. If you hand it to him, ma'am, and thank you. Is the petitioner here? Mr. Marone, you'll speak on behalf of the petitioner?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Maroon on behalf of JST. This request to enter the right-of-way is coupled in part with the minor subdivision that you have later on in your agenda. My client owns property that fronts Crestwood and will be requesting to divide that property into several lots to accommodate a medical office that will be located there. Because of the median, if we do not have that median cut, it would require the traffic coming down Crestwood to go all the way into Crestwood Estates to make the turnaround. And obviously, we don't want to impact the residents of Crestwood subdivision. So this curb cut, if you will, or median cut, will allow for a turnaround for any of the vehicles that might be accessing these lots without the need of bothering Crestwood subdivision.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Yes, ma'am. If you come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Brenda Alford. I don't have an objection, I just have some questions.
Go for it.
Please
So
make
my
your-
question is, would it affect the mounds going into the median? There's mounds that are in the middle of the median where they cut through, or would it be flat surface? What position would the building be, vertical or horizontal, as far as parking goes? And would it be a single-story building or a two-story building? The number of occupancies, and I guess my concern is about parking lot and litter, as well as traffic flow.
Okay, their request right now on this particular item is about the right-of-way itself.
Okay, so my question about
Is
the
how
right-of-way
would
is
they-
how wide would it be, and would it affect the topography of the entrance to the subdivision?
Thank you.
They're
Jay.
requesting to enter the right-of-way to place a median cut in the boulevard section there. The exact location and dimensions of the median cut haven't been,
Haven't been defined.
yeah, they have not been defined yet.
Mr. Marone, do you care to respond?
Mr. Weber, the principal for JST, is here and would be happy to step outside regarding and discuss some of the issues of the re-subdivision, the parking lot, and so forth that may shed some light on that when we get to the re-subdivision issue. But presently, the median cut obviously would be your standard median cut that you see simply to provide access. There are some mounds there. To the extent that the location would impede one of those mounds, we'd have to bring that down to ground level.
So that it would be safe, of course. and-
Exactly.
And comply with all parish specifications.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Davis. Any further comments? Please vote. Motion carries. Minor subdivisions, 2017-539-MSP. A 60.98 acre parcel into parcels A through E, Ward 2, District 6. Owner, Barney and Regina Core. Surveyor, John G. Cummings and Associates, Inc. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Richard Tanner. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason why a public hearing is required for this minor subdivision is more than one of the parcels is being accessed by a private drive. The owner is proposing to create 5 parcels from one 60.98 acre parcel. Furthermore, a private drive is required to be constructed to parish standards pursuant to Section 40-045 minimum standards for a private drive of subdivision ordinance 499 in order to access 4 of the proposed parcels. Therefore, the staff has no objections to the proposed minor subdivision request, subject to the following stipulations. A, A cul-de-sac or some type of turnaround acceptable to the Department of Engineering must be provided at the northern end of the private drive. And B, the proposed name of the private drive, Queenie Lane, must be depicted on the survey plat.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Sir, if you'd come to the podium, you're the petitioner. Please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Barney Core, Folsom, Louisiana.
And the reason for your request, sir?
Well, we'll make this into five little mini farms, and no, I don't have anything. I just asked them to have it divided. I mean, it's minus for the.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve, second by Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Willie.
I just have one question of staff. Hey, Ron, the 35-foot, that's wide enough for them to do
That's
that
correct.
private
Right.
drive? Okay.
Right. And subject to staff comments, Mr. Randolph? Approved subject to staff comments? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
We have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve, subject to staff comments, second by Commissioner Davis. Please vote. Motion carries. 2017-549-MSP, Track 3C into Tracks 3C1, 3C2, and 3C3, Ward 3, District 5. Owner, JST Realty, LLC. Surveyor, DNS Surveyors, Inc. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Reichert Taladano. Staff?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, this is a medical clinic district property. The reason why the public hearing is required for this is that two of the lots do not meet the 1 acre minimum. That's parcel, and parcel 3C is a part of an existing minor subdivision. The owner is proposing to create 3 tracts from tract 3C, which is a tract in an existing minor subdivision of record. 2 of the proposed tracts, 3C1 and 3C2, do not meet the minimum lot size requirements for 1 acre for the minor subdivision. However, it should be noted that the parcel is zoned MD2 Medical Clinic District, which would normally permit parcels of less than 1 acre in size, if not for having to comply with the minor subdivision 1 acre requirement. Therefore, since a waiver of the regulations are required in order to approve this minor subdivision request relative to the lot size issue, a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission, 8 members, is needed in order to approve pursuant to Section 40-100, waiver of regulations of subdivision ordinance 499.
Thank you. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Maroney again on behalf of JST Realty LLC. Mr. Weber and the lady that had the questions and her husband met outside, discussed some of the issues. They're satisfied, at least at this point, with the information they received. They'll be speaking again about trash and some of the other issues that may come up with new medical offices in the area. But again, they seem to be very satisfied with the information they've received. The request this evening is to create these 3 parcels. If you'll look at your plat, parcels 3C1 and 3C2 are the intended locations for the medical offices on the property. This property is in front of the urgent care hospital facility. It's a specialty hospital that is actually to its rear. So these uses will be in keeping with the MD2 zoning and the other uses that are in that vicinity. As Mr. Keller noted, a waiver is required because under the minor subdivision ordinance, each lot is to have be at least 1 acre. Under the MD2, our parcels all meet the underlying zoning, so we're requesting the waiver. But for the waiver, it would result in us having to file a tentative and preliminary subdivision submittal when there's no infrastructure or none of the items that you would typically see in a full subdivision review. So we would submit to you respectfully that the waiver would be appropriate in this instance where we meet the underlying zoning, and the regulations just simply don't provide any other mechanism or vehicle for dividing this property other than the waiver that we're proposing. So with that said, I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners may have, but we would respectfully request your approval of the minor subdivision into the 3 parcels you see on the plat before you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I'll make a motion to approve with the waiver.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve with the waiver, second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further questions? It will require 8 votes to, in the event that we vote in favor, it will take 8 votes to approve this with waiver. Please vote. Mr. Moran? Would you like Commissioner Casabon?
It would be nice if perhaps we delayed that vote for just a moment until Commissioner Casabon made her way back to the chambers.
You don't want to throw it
My math's not always
Needless
that
to
great.
say, we would hold the absence for you. Needless to say, we were going to hold the absence, Mr. Marone. If it was 7-1, we would have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
She heard it. All right, we'll say again, we have a motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve with a waiver, second by Commissioner Randolph. It will require 8 votes. Please vote. Nine zero. Motion carries with waiver. Petitions or requests, we have none. Entering the Tammany Trace, we have none. Revocations, closing reviews, we have none. Re-subdivision review, 2016-512-MRP. Town of Lewisburg, Lot 17, and portions of Lot 15 and 16 into Lots 17A, 17B, and 17C. Ward 4, District 4. Petitioner, Warren Davies and Richard Palco. Surveyor, Ellis Land Surveying, LLC. Owner, Warren Davies and Richard Palco. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Michael Lorino. Postponed at the January 10th, 2017 meeting. Staff recommends postponement until the March 14th, 2017 meeting. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you recall, last meeting, we had some issues that came up at the meeting with the owners and some adjacent property owners. I think we did have a meeting with all the parties involved, but I think we didn't work out all the details in enough time for us to review the proposal, so we requested to be tabled. The petitioners and parties are on the understanding that it'll be tabled until the April meeting, March meeting, sorry.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the postponement? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the postponement? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
I move the table until next month's meeting. March, postpone.
Postpone until the March meeting. We have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to postpone till the March meeting, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Any further comments? Commissioner Lauren.
Yes, if you would, help us a little bit when you come back next month to explain how they're going to access 17C. I'm sure you all know how, but the drawing...
There is a servitude shown there, but yeah, because the drawing's kind of small, it's probably hard to see, but I'll highlight that for you.
Appreciate it.
Any further comments or questions? If not, again, we have a motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Please vote. Motion to postpone carries. 2017-541-MRP, Secluded Pines, Secluded Pines, Parcel A into Parcels A1 and A2, Ward 6, District 11. Petitioner, Jeffrey Crossland. Surveyor, J.V. Burks and Associates, Inc. Owner, Jeffrey Crossland. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Steve Stefanczyk. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an A2 piece of property. The owner is proposing to create two parcels from a 7.938 acre parcel. The lot width of each proposed lot is 135 feet, which does not meet the minimum lot frontage for the A2 zoning district of 150 feet. Therefore, the staff recommends denial of the proposed re-subdivision request. However, if the commission decides to grant this re-subdivision request, a waiver of the regulations are required relative to the lot width issue, and a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the commission, 8 members, is needed in order to approve pursuant to Section 40-100 waiver regulations, subdivision ordinance 499.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and the reason for your request, sir.
My name is Jeffrey Crossland. I live at 37424 Dolph Gaines Road in Pearl River. I'm the owner of the 8 acres, and my reason for the request is I'm looking to divide 2 acres off for a family member that lost everything during Katrina, and so that's why I wanted to divide 2 acres off the 8-acre parcel, which I've been owning for 25 years. At the time of the purchase, from Bill Garrett, it was an understanding that this piece of property was for several family members, and it was bought for family use. And we happen to have a family member that, like I said, that lost everything. That's why we're going to subdivide. That's why we want to divide one of the 2 acres off of it for that family member, and so that we'll have use of it, and I would retain the other 6 acres.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner
Drum.
Right, Commissioner Drum?
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Drum.
I see no reason why this can't be done because there is basically nobody else he's going to harass, be a problem with, and since it's for a family, it's not something we haven't done before, and so I make a motion that we approve it with the waiver.
Motion by Commissioner Drum to approve with the waiver, second by Commissioner Willie. Any further comments? And we have a motion by Commissioner Drum to approve with waiver, second by Commissioner Willie. Please vote. Motion carries. 2017-555-MRP, Tammany West Multiplex, Phase 3, Lot 8 into Lots 8A and 8B, Ward 1, District 1. Petitioner, American Factory Direct. Surveyor, LS Land Surveying, LLC. Owner, American Factory Direct. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The owner is proposing to re-subdivide Lot 8, which is a commercial lot, into 2 parcels. The lot width of each proposed lot, if you look at the cul-de-sac frontage, is 76.68 feet, which does not meet the minimum lot frontage, which is 80 feet pursuant to the HC2 Highway Commercial Zoning District. However, given the fact that the lot width falls short by less than 4.5 feet each and are on a cul-de-sac, and given the fact that the property is zoned commercial and is a very large tract, which represents a total of 15.57 acres, the staff has no objections to the re-subdivision request. So if the commission decides to grant a re-subdivision request, a waiver of the regulations are required pursuant to the lot width issue. A 2/3 majority of votes required, 8 members, in order to approve the waiver.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Good evening. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810, in Covington, and I represent American Factory Direct. The staff report, I think, tells you what this is all about. My client currently has its business at this location and hopes to build a new showroom facility on Lot 8-B. We will continue to use the same concrete drive that's already in place, and again, we're just a little short as it relates to the widths of the lots on the cul-de-sac as per code. So we would appreciate your grant of subdivision subject, or I should say, in addition to a waiver of the frontage requirement as it relates to each lot. If any of you have any questions, I'll be glad to address them at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the request? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
I'll make a motion to approve with the waiver.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve with the waiver, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Commissioner Lauren.
Mr. Shane?
Yes, sir.
I took a ride back there and took a look at it, and I don't have any problem with it, but I do have a question. On our drawing, do you have a copy of the little drawing?
Yes, sir.
All right, where the circle is, where the road comes off the circle currently, it transitions from a concrete street to a blacktop street, and there's a barrier, a swing gate lockable barrier across there now. Is that currently a public road, or is that a private drive?
Private drive.
It's a private drive?
Yes, sir. Public street ends in the Camellia Boulevard cul-de-sac.
Well, if it's converted over as requested, will it become a public road?
No, sir, not at this time. We would continue to have a private drive service all of the facilities and buildings on the property. Now, we may rethink maybe the configuration or the barrier, the improvements on the drive, because right now, although there's some retail at this location, it's primarily a warehouse and certainly a wholesale distribution area.
And like you say, it's at the end of a cul-de-sac. I mean, it affects no one else.
Sure, but we understand that in order to not only properly use the property, but to market, if you will, bring customers easily to and from these locations, that we're going to have to think about the driveway, and that's something we're certainly going to do.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion by Commissioner Davis to approve with waiver, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote. We'll take 8 votes to approve. Motion carries. Dormant subdivision review, we have none. Tentative subdivision review, we have none. Preliminary subdivision review, 2016-525-PP, Ashton Park, second and third filings, Ward 8, District 8. Developer owner, First Horizon Incorporated. Engineer, Benchmark Group LLC. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Chris Canulette. Postponed at the January 10th, 2017 meeting. Staff.
Preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office, and an inspection was made of the site. It's recommended that the preliminary submittal be approved subject to the following comments. On the preliminary plat second filing, this is not a final plat. Revise the plats in page 2 to reflect preliminary plat. The benchmark information on Ashton Park filing 2 is required. Update page 2 to include this information. Include in the notes section on page 2 that lot number 132 will be required to have its driveway on Eagle's Nest Circle. Include in the notes section on page 2 that lot number 164 will be required to be a side load lot. The proposed temporary turnaround must be removed and replaced with one of the 2 following options before the 2-year warranty obligation will be released. A permanent cul-de-sac must be replaced at the end of Knollwood Lane. It must be within the current footprint of the subdivision, or access servitude be acquired from the adjacent property owner in which to place the permanent cul-de-sac. This may result in removal of lots 139 through 142. or B, a roadway installed connecting Knollwood Lane back into Haas Road or another way to provide a turnaround or to provide connectivity to eliminate the dead end. On the preliminary plat third filing, revise, this is not a preliminary plat, revise the plat and page 2 to reflect preliminary plat. The benchmark information for Ashton Park third filing is required. Update page 2 to include this information. Include in the notes section on page 2 that lot 177 and 197 will be required to have driveways on High Ridge Loop. Include in the notes section on page 2 that lots 234 and 216 will be required to have their driveways on Ashton Park. Drainage study and hydrologic calculations. Minimum pond depth of 5 feet is required as per St. Tammany Parish Ordinance 40-037.02.5A1. Informational items, plans and specifications for the project's water distribution lines and sewer collection lines have not yet been approved by the Department of Health. No work order will be issued until the submitted plans and specifications are approved by LDH. No maintenance obligation is required since this is an extension of a private subdivision. Mandatory developmental fees will be required at final subdivision submittal in accordance with Subdivision Ordinance 499 since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the February 14, 2017 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments established at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans. The Department of Development Planning doesn't have any comments.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, and happy Valentine's Day to you folks. And my name is Murray McCullum with Benchmark Group, 11328 Pennywood Avenue, Baton Rouge 70809. We represent First Horizon on this particular project. We respectfully request that this be approved in accordance with the staff recommendations and the staff stipulations. The majority of the comments that have been read tonight have already been addressed. We're waiting for a preliminary approval to resubmit the plans, have been addressed on the plans. With respect to the Department of Health and Hospitals, the plans were submitted long ago. I've checked on them a couple of times. We're supposed to receive final approval within the next few days. And with that, I respectfully request that we be granted preliminary approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions when it comes time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, sir.
I'm Michael Hubert. I live at 135 Ashton Park. One of the things that we had a question on was multifamily. It is residential as of right now, so does multifamily mean condos, apartments? And in our packet, we don't have a layout for the subdivision like you guys have. Because I live on lot 8, and it would be, I was told a long time ago, I lived in Ashton Oaks, that there would be a servitude or an easement behind my house.
Do you wish to address the gentleman's question regarding multifamily?
Do I need to do them all at one time or individually?
You may do them individually if you'd like.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure where the multifamily came through. This is a single-family detached residential community.
I mean, if the zoning is not appropriate, then...
Correct. This does, I probably should have said this in my opening statement, but this does meet the approved tentative plan and the approved PUD documents.
The underlying zoning is just for single family.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, sir, in answer to your question, as far as multifamily, the underlying zoning is just single-family residential. So no multifamily dwellings will be permitted on this particular plan.
Like I said, I live on Ashton Park, and it's going to be almost 150 homes. I see there's a turnaround, but there's only going to be one road in to get to these 150 some odd houses. They're going to be one. They have to go through Ashton Park Boulevard to get to these 140 houses. Because there is, on Howes Road, there is a kind of an inlet where you would think they would put another road in to get to these homes. That means there's going to be one street for all these houses, construction, and roads being torn up. That's one concern that a lot of my neighbors have. Okay.
Petitioner may address it.
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. The extension of Ashton Parkway will be to these 122 additional lots, not 150, but again, it is in accordance with the approved tentative plan and the approved PUD plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any? Yes, sir.
My name's Troy Chambers. I live at 725 Fairfield Loop, and that's in Ashton Park. My question is the developer going to be responsible for repairing the private streets as these multiple construction vehicles come in and out of the neighborhood? Because right now it's owned by the neighborhood association, and we're responsible for repairing our own streets. And is this extension all these included homes are going to be part of the neighborhood association?
So this is a private subdivision?
It's a private subdivision, and the Ashton Park
So the homeowners
owns the streets.
association is responsible for
And the concern is the
maintaining the
developer
roads.
tearing up the streets.
Yeah, no.
We'd have to repair our
Right,
own.
we understand the question, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I've just spoken with the developer, and should some streets be torn up during and caused by the course of construction, they will repair the private streets. These are private streets. And I think there was another question. I apologize. I don't remember what it was. Did the gentleman have another question?
Yes, will all these homes be included in the neighborhood association?
Yes, sir. That is the answer to that is yes. They will be included in the homeowner
So in your
association.
CCNRs, that will be included?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Is there anyone else in the public who has a question or a opposition?
All these homes were built by DSLD. Do we know who, what company is going to be building back there? And are they going to be the same size houses that's relatively there now?
Again, would the petitioner care to address that?
Yes, sir. At this time, all the homes of the 122 proposed sites will be developed and built by DSLD.
And comparable, excuse me, order. And then the question is of comparable size to the existing?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Are you wish to speak in favor or opposition?
Opposition. I'd just like to say...
If you'd state your name and address for the record.
Keith Campo, 924 Western Drive, Ashton Park. I just would like to say that in opposition.
You're in opposition?
Yes, just because of the access.
Because of what, sir?
The single access.
Single access entry?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing us to present this project to you tonight. And again, just to be redundant, it does meet the requirements of the tentative plan and the PUD, and we respectfully ask that the commission grant approval in accordance with staff comments. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other comment? Yes, sir.
My name is Ernest Campbell Jr., and I'm at 736 Fairfield Loop. And the back of my house is at the end of Ashton Park, where they're going to be going in and out. And one of my main concerns was what the value of the houses was going to be. Even though they're saying they're going to be the same plot width or the same square footage. I was worried about that. I was worried about what they're going to look like. And I feel like they should give us something to show us how the plot plan going to be with all of the houses and the subdivision is going to be.
You're speaking of the layout of the planned unit development?
Yes. I mean, I feel like we should get that. I mean, we all know.
I mean, that should be available to the public. I mean, it is available. Once it's submitted to the commission, whatever we have.
Well, nothing wasn't up there when we got.
They have to do a public record request with the legal department, otherwise they can get a copy from the developer if they want to do that.
Because I just want to understand, I know where the cul-de-sac is going to be. I just want to understand how that's going to be, because there's some other property that's right behind me, and I wanted to know if that was going to be developed too.
Copy of the
Yes.
plat, the preliminary, the drawing. According to council and our secretary, you can get the plat either as a request, public record request to Planning Department of St. Tammany Parish, or you may also ask the developer. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Carol Clute. I'm at 103 Ashton Park. And the concern that I have is when I purchased the property, there's a manicured green space in the front of the subdivision, which, you're under the assumption that that's a green space for the future of the property. And now, according to this plan, all of that green space is going to become the back of houses.
You're speaking behind the subdivision, ma'am?
My house is on Ashton Park, and to the north of my property is a large green space, manicured trees, oaks, crepe myrtles, gardens. And now with this new plan, these houses are going to back up and totally remove all of the green space from the subdivision, or that section, a very large section of green space.
Let us ask the developer if that is indeed the section that is part of the planned unit development and will be developed.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not 100% certain what she's referencing, but there's a strip of green space along Haas Road that's going to remain. I mean, that's dedicated. That's going to remain. There's some undeveloped property to the east of the lots at front on, the first filing lots at front on Ashton Park, and that's all part of the development in accordance with the tentative plan. So there's no set-aside green space or open space that was required by the tentative plan and the PUD plan that we're removing. We're in total compliance with the tentative.
So is it fair to say that the current green space that they're enjoying right now was always phased in for future development?
Yes, sir. It's fair to say that any greens or open space that's required by the tentative plan is still intact. Nothing's changed with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to make the assumption.
Wait a minute. If you may come to the podium.
The assumption when the property or my property was purchased, all of this green space was there, landscaped.
Proceed, ma'am.
Everything was landscaped, so that was my assumption. This was going to stay, and actually when I asked the developer and the Ashton Park Homeowners Association, they said that it would stay. So now I'm not even sure. There are large kind of buildings and structures at the front of the subdivision. So it looks like all of that is going to have to be, or a major portion of that is going to come down to allow for all of the properties that are coming in. I mean, I don't know if we can put the map up and.
I don't know if we have a visual of the map, but again, right. I suspect, and the developer will come up and state what happens, what may appear to be green space at some point in the project is obviously part of the planned unit development for future development, but I'll let the developer's representative. make the comment to that.
Because you see where, I don't know if you can see where the first lot is, the first large lot when you're coming down the street. It's labeled number 1, which is my house. And everything north of that right now is green space.
And that's part of the planned unit development.
Mr. Chairman, not exactly. I mean, everything north of that particular lot is not green space. It is developable property that was included, again, on the tentative plan.
Right.
There are some green space and open spaces on the other side of those particular areas that are going to be developed that will remain intact in accordance with the tentative plan. But directly behind her lot 1, those are and have always been intended to be lots.
So is it correct to say the planned unit development you're going through in phases, which is typical for a development?
Yes, sir.
What at some point in time is green space, whether it's manicured or natural or whatever, at some point in time the developer will come back and continue to develop on that property consistent with the original plan?
Yes, sir. That's exactly correct.
Okay. So, ma'am, do you understand what the developer stated? It was always planned to develop. It was just when it would be developed. And oftentimes when you see green space in the original development plan, it's been designed to develop. It's just when the developer elects to do so. And it is consistent with all parish ordinances and consistent with the original plan. It's just another phase. We understand the impact of development. Yes, ma'am. This time, we'll close it to the public.
Thank you.
And I will bring it to the commission. So, pardon? Was it? Yeah. You may come to the podium, sir. You have 1 minute.
Yes, my name is Carlos Del Real, 300 Mansfield Drive, Ashton Park. I just have a small comment and a question. The comment is the first stage of Ashton Park is now fully owned by the Owners Association. We are not obligated to let anybody drive through our property. My question is that correct? To drive construction trucks, concrete trucks, crews, construction crews for somebody else's property? I mean, is that, don't we have a right, this is supposed to be a private subdivision, it's a gated community. And now why should we, the owners, allow a developer, we don't know who the constructor is, who the builder will be, we don't know the plots, they haven't been distributed to the owners of the current homes there. So is there any recourse that we can do to protect our private property, to stop people from dumping concrete? I have pictures of the concrete that constructors have dumped on our streets, cracks, and many other things. They have caused a total damage, and we don't have any warranty that they will repair it. They have not done it so far. So it's really an abuse by the developers to try to use somebody else's private property to drive their construction project through. So my question is, what recourse do the owners of Ashton Park have?
The questions you bring up, sir, are some of legal, so I'm going to defer to our counsel to possibly give guidance or possibly raise questions that your homeowners association may consider.
Well, Mr. Chairman, what is before the commission tonight is the proposed approval, preliminary subdivision review and approval of the next two phases in the Ashton Park subdivision, and I'll ask staff to confirm that statement.
That's correct.
So it's fair to say that this is a multi-phase subdivision development, and what is before the commission tonight is approval for the development of the next 2 phases. Okay, I understand that the first phase has been developed and you folks live there. If you have concerns about the legal rights not only of you, your homeowners association, being a private subdivision, and the rights to access all or part of your phase, if you will, by the developer of the future phases, then you may want to consult legal counsel on that question. It's not really the purview of this commission to advise you or to discuss the legal rights or lack thereof that the current homeowners may have within that subdivision versus those of the developer. What is before the commission tonight is to ascertain whether the developer of the next 2 phases have met all of the legal requirements of parish regulations for development of the next 2 phases of this subdivision. Remember, even though it may have occurred, many years ago, this subdivision in whole has been approved conceptually by the parish and this commission. What occurs now is a requirement that the developer show that its planned actual development of the next 2 phases occurs consistently with parish regulations. If you have concerns about, again, the rights that you as current residents within the subdivision may have versus that of the developer for the access of all or part of the development, you may again want to consult somebody on that issue. But it's not really an issue that the commission can address at this time.
Yes, sir.
Yes, just another question. You say that there are many phases in this subdivision. Is that correct? May I know how many phases are there or stages?
They're filing for the second and third, so that's, again, you can consult with the developer what's in front of the commission, or 2 and 3.
So if they're filing, it's not approved yet, right? Correct? It's not approved. That's a new subdivision or a new extension of the subdivision.
No, they're going through preliminary subdivision as part of a planned unit development.
Okay.
So now they're coming back to us on the second and third filing of that. So they're expanding it. And again, it's consistent with the planned unit development that was originally placed in front of the parish.
Yes, so my question is about the whole planned unit development that was approved many years ago. My question is, how many homes are included in that whole planned unit development?
We don't have that information in front of us. I don't know, the staff, are you aware of that?
I don't know off the top of my head, but this is within the total number of lots that they were approved for at tentative or PUD level.
Well, is there a plot?
Pardon me?
Is there a plot of whatever was filed when the original
Yes, there would be a file.
approval?
Yes.
So there is, the information is available?
That's correct.
Correct. We just don't have it in front of us at this point, and staff does not have it either. It is available. You'll be able to secure it if through the appropriate channels.
So what you're saying is Ashton Park as a subdivision is, we just have built one piece of it.
Correct.
Okay, all of it, the other rest of it is not built.
That is correct.
Okay, so the rest of it has 1 or 2 owners? Is that correct?
What is coming in front of us is First Horizon to build that out.
Well, anyway, yeah, the question side is, we cannot, you said we cannot suggest to this council to close the entrance
Correct.
that drives to, because there is a larger subdivision that was approved.
Well, I believe what council said is that you would need to either address with the developer or address with the homeowners association or with your own council what any legal rights you might have. This commission does not entertain that. That is not part of our purview.
Okay, but there is, so far Ashton Park, the whole legal entity of owners association, only has 125 owners who own the whole of the property. I mean, we've already...
In all due respect, sir, I'm going to cut you short because you're now talking about legal issues, your restrictive covenants. Those issues have nothing to do with this commission whatsoever. And so at this point in time, the public hearing in front of us is this preliminary subdivision request. I think your questions may be very valid, but they're not.
Okay.
They're not
so
for the
I'm going to
commission.
address what is before the council right now, and I oppose it because it will destroy our property, for which we have fully owned, completely paid, and we were promised that it was going to be kept in good repair by the developers and by the builders, and they don't give us any assurance that they will be able to repair it, just like they have not done it so far. They will not be able to do it in the future. So the owners of filing one will most likely end up with having to bear all the damages that this construction work will cause to the roads and to the entrance.
Thank you for your comments, sir. This time, we will close it to the public, and we'll bring it to the commission. Commissioner Drum.
Where's the gentleman for the project? I'm sorry, I forgot your name, sir.
Murray.
It's all right, my wife forgets my name. Murray, it's Murray.
Thank you, sir. I'm looking at storm drainage layout, sheet 1 of 2, sheet number 16.
Okay.
And I'm looking at lot 158, 159, and 118. Now, I've read a lot of maps in my life, and I'm trying to, these lines right here are...
I'm sorry, sir, one more time, what lot numbers were you?
158, 159,
Okay.
and 118. Are those topographical lines that run through there? Does that mean that you have a huge culvert, a huge hole that you have to bring fill in?
Yes, sir. What was done with that particular area initially was the outfall for the storm drain from the first filing, and the ditch was dug and then to the detention pond for that outfall. Well, we're connecting up that outfall and connecting it with subsurface drainage, and therefore closing that particular ditch in.
Okay, because a lot of differences in depth and all, so I was just trying to figure out if...
And that's what we're doing there.
Oh, okay.
Did that answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir, I was trying to figure it out, and
Okay.
I appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dougherty?
Yes, sir. I'd go ahead and make a motion to approve with staff comments.
Motion by Commissioner Dougherty to approve with staff comments. Commissioner Davis.
One question from Mr. Murray, again, please. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Aston Park, of course, it's already received the PUD overlay or PUD zoning on this. Can you tell the people out there exactly how many phases will be built?
The original PUD and tentative plan were for 5 phases.
That's correct.
One's already built. This is second and third, so there will be a fourth and fifth.
And with all the 5 phases that will be developed, you'll still meet the 25% green space.
Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir.
I think that's what a lot of people are a little bit concerned about. So again, you're in a PUD development. You've only got 1 phase built. You have 4 other phases coming in. It's already met the PUD development criteria for the parish. just to let you know. You'll still have 25% green space, which is according to our code, and that's basically what's happening.
And just for clarity's sake, the green space and the open space is in accordance with the approved tentative plan that was approved, at the time it was approved. And we're asking for no changes in that. That would require a tentative plan amendment, and we're not asking for any of that.
And it meets all the density requirements that we...
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Drum?
Yes, sir, don't go away.
Now I'm dizzy.
That gentleman sitting right behind you there had some interesting questions, like your equipment is going up and down their streets. Do you have any intention of repairing any damage that you do?
Excuse me, I think
In all due respect, Commissioner Drum, that is not on purview of this.
Okay.
That is a legal issue. Respectfully, that may go to their restrictive covenants, what the developer's rights might be, what their lawyers say, but that is not a question that would be appropriate for this commission to entertain at this time.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
But it is a good question. It's a great question. We have a motion by Commissioner Dougherty to approve with staff comments. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Fitzmaurice, second. Any further comments of the commission? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Dougherty to approve with staff comments, second by Commissioner Fitzmaurice. Please vote. Motion carries. 2016-526-PP. Preston Vineyards, Ward 1, District 3, developer owner, First Horizon, Inc., engineer, McGlynn Taylor Incorporated, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable James Red Thompson. Postponed at the January 10th, 2017 meeting. Staff.
Preliminary plans and hydrologic study have been reviewed by this office, and an inspection was made of the site. It's recommended that the preliminary submittal be approved, subject to the following comments. On the preliminary plat, a Corps of Engineers permit will need to be provided and reviewed before a work order is issued. Number 2, remove the 100-foot buffer line note. On the drainage and paving plan, C1, the flow from A1-1-1 to A1-1 should be the combined flow of the off-site flow A23 to A22, A3 to A2, and the sheet flow from the back of lots 106 to 111. The sedimentation plan, C8, the stormwater path map currently shows the proposed subdivision only has one discharge point from the site. The drainage plan shows a discharge point from the east side of the property and the west side of the proposed development. Revise the stormwater path map to include both proposed discharge points. Informational items, a DOTD permit or verification will be required for the development, and to rework the ditches along US 190 before a work order is issued. Plans and specifications for the construction of the project's water distribution lines and sewer collection lines must be approved by LDH before a work order is issued. The proposed design for the outfalls from the detention ponds must be finalized, reviewed, and approved before a work order will be issued. No maintenance obligation is required since the project fronts on Highway 190. Mandatory developmental fees will be required at final submittal in accordance with Ordinance 499 since no public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005. Revised drawings will not be accepted prior to the February 14, 2017 Planning Commission meeting to ensure that any additional comments established at the meeting can be incorporated into the revised plans. The Department of Development Planning has no comments.
Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone again on behalf of the developers of Preston Vineyard. My clients have either addressed, they have addressed all of the staff comments you see before you that could be addressed at this time. I'd like to just walk through those with you and provide some explanation with regards to item number 7. We are aware of the need for the Corps of Engineers permit, and we're in the process of procuring same. We have removed the 100-foot buffer line from the plat. We have combined the flows as required under comment number 3, and in fact, I believe those flows were required before, but there were some typos in the report, but we have rerun that. They have been combined, and there is no adverse effect. With regards to comment number 4, we have prepared the stormwater path map, which shows the 2 points where the water will leave this property, and are prepared to submit that after this meeting. In fact, all of the water still makes it to the East Beatico Creek, then to the Tangipahoa River, and ultimately into Lake Pontchartrain. We're also aware of the LA DOTD permit requirement and the approval of the plans and specifications by the Department of Health and Hospitals. With regards to item number 7, I want to provide a little bit of background on that so you know what we're dealing with there. In our submittal, we provided 2 alternatives for the ultimate outfall of this particular, of the detention ponds. One of the options is suggests that we would be able to obtain a servitude from an adjacent landowner. The other option is, in the event we're not able to obtain that servitude, another method for addressing the outfall. Both adequately meet the requirements of the ordinance, and all we're waiting on this point is to determine if we're going to be able to procure that servitude. If we can, then we will have the ditch, in which case we know which option we will be pursuing. If we can't, then we will pursue option 2. Again, we will let Mr. Watson and his staff know which one of those we'll be pursuing prior to the time that we pull a work order. In either event, both of the options that are set forth in the plan meet the requirements of the ordinance, so you can rest assured that we will not be requesting any waiver or need any variances with that regard. With those comments and with your staff's comments, we would respectfully request your approval for preliminary for Preston Vineyard.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public. Yes, ma'am. And I bring it to the commission.
Are you calling them?
Commissioner Casabon.
Thank you. Paul, I have some questions. Last week, we went through postponing some of the subdivisions, in that area. Was this one part of the drainage study? It's because it is higher, and it's kind of across that 1077. That to me is a higher piece, but this was not considered part of that drainage study.
Good question, Ms. Casbon, and no, this is not part of that study. That study was really of the areas on the east side of 1077.
I just hadn't seen the information to know which one, and I did not. If we tabled that last week, I didn't want to proceed in error this week.
Very good question. This is on the south side of 190 and west of that particular area.
And it is, the topography's quite different. It's like it starts getting lower as it goes toward the river than this particular site and stuff.
It is, and this is much further away. That study was really a riverine study of the headwaters of the Little Chafuncta, all of which is much further to the east.
Okay, just wanted that in the record. I'll make a motion to approve, subject to all staff comments.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve subject to staff comments, second by Commissioner Lauren. Commissioner Davis.
Paul. Of course. Yes, sir. Why were we removing the 100-foot buffer off of 190?
Because there is no 100-foot buffer along 190.
That's correct.
Where did that line come from?
I think that was just an error in our drafting, because none of the plans we had, I believe, showed a 100-foot buffer along 190.
Okay, so that was just something, an error that somebody put in? Okay.
Yes.
I thought maybe they put it in, we're just taking it out.
No.
Okay, 165, is that going to be a commercial lot?
No, 165 is a very large residential lot.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
It's nicer. It's on the upper hill.
Any further comments, Commissioner Casabon?
No.
Commissioner Willie, you're, okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve subject to staff comments, second by Commissioner Lauren. Please vote. Motion carries. Final subdivision review, we have none. Proposed amendments to ordinance 499, we have none. Old business, entering parish right-of-way, H Street, Ward 3, District 2. Request to enter parish right-of-way for the purpose of gaining access to property. The debtor, DMM Construction, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Dennis Sharp. A request for an extension of time. Staff.
Honorable Commissioners, the above resolution was adopted February 10, 2016. The resolution states that the petitioner must submit all documentation within the 6-month period from the date of adoption. The petitioner was granted a 6-month extension by the Planning Commission on September 13, 2016, which extended the adoption date to September 13, 2016, thereby extending the 6-month submittal of documentation to March 13, 2017, and the completion date to September 13, 2018. The petitioner is unable to furnish all documentation required within the 6-month period and is requesting another extension of time. See attached email dated 2/3/17. Since the time will expire for the petitioner to furnish all documentation, the following actions required by the Planning Commission to allow the petitioner to proceed with the project. Extend adoption date to 2/14/17, thereby extending the 6-month submittal of documentation to 8/14/17 and the completion date to 2/14/19.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Good evening again. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, 70434. I represent the owner and petitioner, DMM Construction, LLC. We respectfully request another 6-month extension, but I have some information to bring to your attention that hopefully would be of interest. On February the 3rd, which was Friday a week ago, my client and I met with legal counsel, Mr. Hand and Mr. Savant, your engineer, Mr. Watson, and Councilman Sharp, who oversees this area. This is in his district. And we have discussed the possibility of some legislation which might make it more economically feasible without sacrificing the possibility of having central sewer and water in this area in the future, to allow my client to proceed if in fact this legislation is proposed by the administration and council. So the request for the extension is not blind, if you will, or without a plan. I wanted you to know that we've engaged in meaningful discussions with the parish. Obviously, 2 of the participants in that meeting are here with me this evening. It was a consensus of that group that we actually seek this extension so that Mr. Sharp and others could continue discussing and pursuing the possibility of legislation. I think you know that the essence of this request is that in order to put some of these lots into commerce, permission to enter the right-of-way was granted by the commission, but in the instance where you have to extend the street, you also must provide central sewage and water. We're talking about a total of 5 lots, and the approximate cost to extend the water, which is around 1,000 feet, the sewage, which is over 500 feet, and also an upgrade to the lift station is $150,000. And when you're doing that for 5 lots, it's fairly pricey. Thus, that's why we're looking for some other options or alternatives. So we respectfully request that you grant the extension. I believe that if something can happen, it will happen in this next 6 months, and we can proceed as planned. If any of you have any questions, I'll be glad to address it at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Motion to approve the the extension.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve the extension for 6 months, second by Commissioner Willie. Any further comments? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries. Gust Island Estates, Parcel D3, The Oaks, Ward 1, District 4, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Michael Lorino. Developer requesting the removal of 12 lots from the phase. Staff.
Honorable Commissioners, Gust Island Estates, Parcel D3, The Oaks, received final approval on January 10, 2017 for 47 lots. The developer is requesting that 12 of the 47 lots be removed from the plat prior to recordation because of wetlands existence. See attached letter dated February 1, 2017. The Department of Development Engineering has reviewed the request and there's no objection to the removal of the 12 lots. The warranty obligation also needs to be revised as follows. 1,705 linear feet times $25 per linear foot for $42,600 for a period of 5 years.
Mr. Shane.
Again, for the record, Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington 70434, and I represent the owner and developer. The staff report tells the story. You may remember that when I procured final in January, one of the items on the list was the wetlands determination, and it appears that there are 2 areas that may be, or let's say are wet, which will require some permitting. So Mr. McHugh got with staff and obviously devised, I guess we will say, an amended or revised plan that deleted the areas that are wet, thereby suggesting a reduction of 12 lots. So your approval this evening would in no way compromise any encroachment or infringement into wetlands areas. And if and when those areas are permitted, that will obviously be the next phase in that area. We will come back to you, meet all of your requirements, and hopefully be able to procure a final at that time. If any of you have any questions, I'll be glad to address them.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Lauren. Any further comments? Please vote. Motion carries.
Thank you.
The landings of Cross Gates, Phases 1 through 4, Ward 8, District 9, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Jean Belisario. The HOA requests to convert private streets and drainage to the parish maintenance system. Staff.
Honorable Commissioners, the HOA has requested that St. Tammany Parish take the following infrastructure into the maintenance system: the concrete roadways, subsurface drainage within the road right-of-way. All other infrastructure will be maintained by the HOA. The roadways and subsurface drainage have been inspected and are satisfactory. Therefore, it's recommended that the attached ordinance be approved for action by the Parish Council.
Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in favor? No petitioner? No. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve. Commissioner Dougherty.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dougherty. Commissioner.
This has been worked on for quite some time with the parish and the homeowners association, so like the letter says, everything meets the parish standards.
Commissioner Lauren.
Dave may have answered the question, but I couldn't hear him down at this far end of the world. This is a rather unusual one. If I read this correctly, it's going from a private gated-like subdivision to a public subdivision?
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay.
And it is.
That's not 100% correct. It's still going to be, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing that's coming into the parish maintenance system are the streets and subsurface drainage. Anything else that has to be done as far as maintaining, like, I guess, God, I don't know what it would be.
Well, the signage, for example, they've got privately maintained signage that's going to be maintained by the HOA. The only thing we're taking in is the roadway and the road
Which
sign.
means the gates have got to, the gates
Yes, the
cannot
gates-
lock.
the
They
gates
can
won't be
still
locked.
have there for aesthetic purposes, but those gates cannot be functional.
Yeah,
Right,
it's my understanding.
right.
that the gates are-
Thus, it must be a public access 24/7.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the gates are going to go away. That's been one of the big problems.
The gates. Are there any further comments? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Please vote. Motion carries. Is there any new business to come before the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Commissioner Drum. Thank you for your motion to adjourn.